Hey there, folks, and welcome to another Factorio Mod Spotlight. I'm Exterminator, and thank you so much for joining me today. And in this spotlight, we are covering an interesting mod called Heat Pump. Now, this one is moderately new, about a month old or so, and it's pretty basic, but a cool idea that I like that would allow you to do some different things with power. So, what this lets you do essentially is take heat from heat pipes and then transfer it, basically turn it like capsule it up and then move that like enclosed heat capsule somewhere else and use the heat elsewhere, which is kind of interesting. So I don't. The name is a little deceiving because it doesn't really use pumps. I was confused at first, like trying to find the items to make this work. But essentially, it adds a bunch of stuff here that look like heat pipes. One little criticism I would have is that it would be cool in the future to have these more distinguishable because they literally look exactly like heat pipes, which is kind of confusing. But basically, you have these heat emitters, and there's multiple tiers of them. That's why there's so many. So there's 4 tiers of each, and then you have these heat extractors. The concept is pretty simple. Basically, you just hook up the heat extractor to a heat pipe, and it will extract the heat from it. So what I have here is a heat extractor, a level 1. It's connected to just normal heat pipe, and it extracts that heat, and then actually like creates a capsule full, like a heat capsule, and then you can export it with an inserter onto a belt or box or whatever. Now, the other thing it adds is in this unsorted menu, it adds these heat capsules of all different levels as well. So these are what you need to actually insert into the heat extractor. So you just stick them in here, and then it will fill it with heat, and then pop it out here. As you can see, we have these completed ones. So this is the lowest level, the 20 megajoule heat capsule. But you can take these just like any other item and transfer them wherever you want them, which I think is pretty cool. So once you get them, then you just kind of do the opposite and use a heat emitter, and you can hook this up to a heat pipe, and then it will just basically transfer the heat out. So if we take a heat pipe, again, it's kind of confusing. I mean, this does flash no fuel, so I guess that's one way to distinguish, but generally it is a little confusing just because they look the same. So we stick this in here, and you can see this is glowing, it's heating up, and then it's also heating up the heat pipe. So some applications for this, really the main thing is with nuclear powers, it allows you to do some pretty interesting and crazy setups because you can generate your heat in one place and then basically build the rest of your setup somewhere else if you want to, which is a pretty interesting way of doing it. You're also, even if you build it all in one area, you're no longer really limited by like heat pipe length and how it loses heat over distance, which can be a thing in bigger setups. Like you can only go so big because of that. So with this, that's not really a worry. You just have to like set up these extractors and then emitters and transfer it that way, which I think is pretty interesting. So you could be pretty creative with this, do some interesting stuff. In terms of technology, if we look here, you can see. So this unlocks the heat pipe. I'm gonna see if I cannot find the tech for this. I'm sure it does come with the tech. Some of this tech is really hard to find because it's sometimes buried in other stuff. But I'm sure there is a tech for it. You will find it as you go to do nuclear power and stuff. I'm seeing if there's any icon that pops up for me here. It may just be unlocked by default potentially. In terms of its cost, they are fairly expensive. So like the level 1, I mean, it's pretty cheap, but then like once you get up to these higher level ones, they're not free by any means. So that's the cost for those. And then these just is pretty cheap too for the first one, but then as you get up here, it does get quite expensive for this really like high capacity storage one. I mean, you're looking at 16 fuel cells and then 2 of the previous, etc. So this is really quite good in terms of its storage capacity, and then it's pretty expensive. And then settings, lastly, if we take a look here at the settings, there are none, so you're all set there. That's a mod I don't know. I thought it was interesting, just kind of something different. You could play around with it, do some cool setups. There is a link, as always, in the mod description or in the video description where you can find this on the mod portal page. If you have any questions, leave them below. If you enjoyed, a like is appreciated. I apologize; it's been a long day for any fumbles here, but I really appreciate you watching. If you're new, welcome, and feel free to subscribe. Until next time, I look forward to seeing you all, and do take care.